Hello and welcome back. Just look at that stunning picture. I bet there was much excitement in the studio the day that was made for those two little chaps on the left there. Possibly for the male model there as well, brandishing his pipe, pointing at points of interest on the layout. Lovely label there, partially missing though. And we've got a price there written in pencil, £3.17 6. Box is fairly tatty. It's been fixed in the past with sellotape, some nice rusty staples. For those of us who like those sort of things, more sellotape, fairly tidy, lots of edge wear where it's been on and off the shelf perhaps. We'll just have a swift look down that side there and that full hole right through the corner of it there. We might as well have a swift look at the back there, some fairly dirty looking brown cardboard. You can hear the set rattling around inside, so we don't want to do too much more of that. So we'll lift off the lid. Now I believe this set was available between 1960 and 62, although in 62 the set number changed to RS.11 with the addition of Super 4-track, although I believe this particular set comes from 1961 as it has the oil tanker instead of the box car. So we just have a swift look at these catalogues. I can just reach them over. Here we go, we've got the 1960 catalogue here. Swift look at the cover there, 6th edition. And now we've got the RS.11 set there, so number 5 RS.11 train set. Comes with 14 sections of a Series 3 track, and we can see we've got the yellow yard switcher there, Trying Railways livery with the old hazard stripes on it, an orange box car. Interesting statement here about the TC range, I think. I'll get the words out. Trying Railways Transcontinental Series provides a comprehensive range of locomotives and cars representative of many railroads all over the world, notably in the USA, Canada, South Africa, Australia and New Zealand. So they really were trying to market to a wide range of markets with a very limited number of models. So we'll just pop that to one side. So that's the 1960 catalogue, and here we can see we've come to the old 1961 catalogue, and we've got the train set has changed there, RS.11, and you can see it's got the oil tanker now instead of the orange box car. Still lovely looking sets of models, aren't they? Really lovely catalogues, very, very pale, almost pastel colours in this catalogue. And here we go, if we jump over to the 1962 catalogue, and this is the year that Super 4 came along. So we have a look there, and there's the set, same as the year before, but we can see we're carrying a different number here. Where are we? There's the diesel freight train set, there we go, RS.31. So we'll just pop that to one side. Lovely image on the front there. Of course, in 1963, we had this fantastic replacement set, which sadly I don't have. There's the Snow Rescue train set, far more exciting. Look at that group of models there. A Snowplow with operating doors, and because we've changed over to the transcontinental range, really we've got a change in livery. We've got the bright red yard switcher, and it's got the shield on the side. It's just got a number, although we can't really read it there. Helicopter car with an operating helicopter, and that fantastic looking ambulance there, ambulance car. So whilst I have those models, I don't have it in a boxed set, so I'll just pop that to one side for a moment, and we'll just have a swift look over the models in the set. So here we've got the yard switcher in its original livery. We'll just pop this out of here. So have a look there. So I think 1960 to 62 it was in this livery. I believe right in the last year before they switched to red, this was available with the TR number along the side instead of Trying Railway, so fully switched over to the transcontinental range. Fairly worn. I don't think there's any missing parts on this, and the motor runs reasonably well. And somebody's over cranked one of the screws in the bottom plate there and cracked the collection plate, which is a little bit of a shame. It doesn't affect its running. So we'll just pop that down, see if I can just drop it back into this lovely little cardboard tray. Perhaps we should just have a quick closer look at those before we look at any of the other models there. So they're fairly worn, fairly tired. I think the contents of this set have been out in and out many times. Certainly quite well used, but reasonably well looked after. So we've got the 12 small radius curves there and 2 straights, one of them with the terrific uncoupling ramp in there. So we'll pop that back down. And here we've got the oil tanker. We've seen a few of these in a video recently. I think this is R.278. Lovely condition. Just have a swift look around it. So I think oil tankers is quite a long running model. 1955 to 65, I think, with this livery, and the other two, the yellow and I think it was probably a green at some point, which was a very rare one. But in the late 60s, early 70s, in some other liveries for Canada, possibly Australia, still lovely things. So I forgot to say that this in the yellow livery, the yard switcher was 1960 to 62, and then in its red livery, 63 to 65. So we have a look at the gondola here. Again, another quite long-running model, 1954, I think, to 63. And in other liveries, slightly different liveries earlier with different transfers, which are very, very fragile. But other liveries for Canadian National and Rock Island, I think, in the late 60s, early 70s, perhaps some others as well that have escaped my attention, but fairly interesting wagon, and different colours in blue, and I think that there may be a red one in this range, and the Canadian ones, I think there's grey and a brown one, I think, as well. I'm struggling to think there. There's definitely a brown one, although I can't remember what's printed along its side. And then we've got the old caboose here. Again, long-running model, going back to 1954, running through to 65, and again made it into Canadian liveries in the late 60s, early 70s. We've seen this in a video recently. Fairly lovely things, and I think I mentioned before, looks quite toy-like, but when you look at actual cabooses on the internet, it's got a good feel of a caboose, definitely from North America, I think. But lovely thing. So we'll just pop that down. And now we have the full group of models rolling around that small oval of track, making a terrific noise with those ribbed wheels on the steel track. Very distinctive, isn't it? Tiniest a wobble on those wagons. You just see that glowing headlamp there. We'll catch her when she comes around the other side of the oval. We'll get a different angle. There we go, that's quite nice. A real selling feature, I imagine, for a set having a glowing headlamp. And then gently to a stop. We'll just have a swift look over the pieces of track included in the set. So there are 14 pieces of track. There are 12 small radius curves and 2 straights, one of them being an uncoupling ramp. We'll just pop the straight down there. We've had a look at uncoupling ramps before, and I think we've agreed, especially in the comments, that they're great things, great play value, and it would have been such a great idea if they developed a solenoid operated version of this and possibly introduced it into the Super 4 range as well. It really is an oversight, I think, in the development. I know they're trying to keep costs down by making parts you could buy with pocket money, but there's Triang's name, and it's R.198, made in England. So really quite a pretty thing. A little tongue there, and they overlap, they snap together. I'm not going to put these together. I'm finding this difficult to line them up while I'm looking through the back of the camera there, but you can see how that's going to work. Very, very weak part that, very often missing. Here we've got the standard straight. We can see the holes in there for pinning it down to your baseboard. Let's see if we've got a model number here. We've got Triang's name on the track bed there. R.190, made in England. Still fairly tidy condition, these ones. The fish plates can get quite rusty. They're quite easy to clean these up. You can remove the rails quite easily. But I think that's for another day. And then we've got 12 of these small radius curves. And again, fairly tidy condition. I believe these are plated steel, so they would prevent it from rusting, although these are easily in excess of 50 years old now, so you have to imagine that plating over time is just going to wear away, especially with cleaning or just running of trains, I think. And we've got Triang's name and the part number, R.193, made in England. And we've got that little depression in there. Supposedly, I think you could run cabling underneath the track, I imagine. We're just going to bring the train to a gentle stop just before the power connecting clip and the uncoupling ramp. And then we're going to activate the uncoupling ramp. There we go, so it's in the raised position. So we'll roll the train, or more precisely the locomotive, over it. And then we'll have to back it up to take the tension out. So they spring open there. And then off we go. You can see how much added play value this is going to add to having a small oval of track. And we'll pick them up from the caboose end. Roll back around the layout. Nice and smoothly. Slow it down, see if we can stop it just over the uncoupling ramp again. There we go, and hear that nice snap as they spring open there. Depends how much tension there is in them up against the coupling hooks, I suppose. You get that nice pop upwards. It's very reassuring. And we'll roll back round nice and slowly so we don't knock the wagons off the track. There we go. So this is probably nearly 60-year-old track we've got here, and ribbed wheels, so it's not the smoothest of connections for transferring power. There we go. Let's see if we can gently back up again, and open they go, and off again. The hours of fun you could have with this, eh? This would keep you going until you get something slightly larger in the layout department, perhaps an extra set of points, or a tunnel, or a station. And there we go. And forward. And off again. And we'll roll back round and we'll collect them again. So I think that's a really terrific item to give that little bit of extra fun from what essentially is a very small set. Just have another swift look at this 1960 catalogue here. We've got the great transcontinental locomotives here. There's this little picture down here, and if I read that out, it says, yet another item of interest to give that added touch of realism to the layout. Snowplow attachment R.278 can be fitted to the front of the R.253 yard switcher, and there it is. Quite an interesting looking item, isn't it? So if we just pop this catalogue to one side, we've got the yard switcher, and I do have a snowplow attachment here. So we'll just slot that on, and it is a slot-on type of thing. It doesn't clip into place, it can bounce off, I've noticed in use. It looks a fairly lethal thing, isn't it? They thought the spike on the front of the turbo car was a fairly lethal item. Could be played with on the railway if you put your head down and watched it come towards you, but I suspect that this could be even more so, and also I don't think it would survive many sort of running accidents. It's just far too fragile. But if we just lift that off, so it just slot in. Let's just pop that back on again. We'll have a look underneath. It just slots into there and slots off again. So these yard switches were just the dock shunters without the buffers. We'll just pop this down and I'll just have a quick look at my test dock shunter here. This one suffered soldering iron damage and it didn't have a lighting unit, and I've put one of those LED conversions in there. You see it's the same thing, isn't it? Just have a look at that. You see the holes for the buffers have just been filled in on the mould. You can see a slight depression in them there, can't you? Let's pop that one back into place before we lose it. So this Snowplow attachment won't fit onto there because of the buffers. So I suppose you could always remove them if you wanted to use one on a dock shunter. Let's just pop the dock shunter to one side. And we'll just have a look at this lovely little thing. Quite an ingenious thing, I suppose. Another item for pocket money. And lots of rivets across the top of it there. See if we can get that into focus for you. But there's that very, very sharp double spike there. I think that could do a lot of damage. There's those two little sort of poles or things, I don't know what you'd call those, which slide into the coupling just to hold it in place. And there's Triang's name, made in England, and the catalogue number down there. Let's get it out of shadow for you. R.278. So fairly interesting item, I think. And there we have that great looking snowplow fitted to the front end of the yard switcher, making quite an impressive combination, I think. Now from what I read, it wasn't available for very long, 1960 to 63 perhaps, just making it into the era of the red yard switcher. Imagine we could have had all sorts of fun with this running around the small oval of track, finding many sort of household items that could be brushed away at speed, perhaps with a glowing headlight, perhaps even in the dark. Great fun. Now I think that's probably it for this week, but thanks for watching. It's hugely appreciated. If you look back again next time, we'll have something else from the range to look at. Goodbye now.